Welcome back to another episode of our Sunday Live DFS and Dynasty podcast. We are here to make sure everything goes right for you this Sunday. There's so much news that has come out today, and I blame the NFL, Austin. Whenever they got rid of that probable and doubtful tag and just made everybody questionable, I don't think you did anybody any favors because even my mom's questionable right now. Let's just be honest.
How questionable?
She's pretty questionable with a quad injury. Uh, so she's down. So that other sexy voice you hear is Austin. How are you this Sunday?
I'm great. I'm great. It's going to be an interesting Sunday. I feel bad. Stevens won some money this week and decided to go to the game without us.
Yeah, so the third amigo, I will say he is the Martin Short of the three amigos. And I don't think that's a slight too bad. It's what it is. I'm definitely Steve Martin. But the idea is this. He went to the game. He is at the Lions and Packers game, and we wish him all the best. We will be making a lot of money here. So thanks for joining us. And if you've been with us, man, through the fifth week, this is the fifth week of the season, we have posted profits every week. So please listen and pay attention. And if you have questions, man, we are more than welcome to having questions. It's a big reason why we do this is so many people reached out and said, hey, man, we appreciate the lineups and all those things. But when news comes out, things change. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. And if you want to see our lineups, just head over to our website, Eat Sleep Fantasy. They are there. They're just $5 a week. And, I mean, shoot, we are hitting on everything. So just give it a shot, see what you think, make some money. And if you like it, come on back. That's basically why we are here. Now, let's start as we always do every Sunday morning with the weather. Weatherman Austin, take us through. We've got some stuff going on, don't we?
Yeah, we need some sound effects for that. And here, hey, this weekend, the big concern is rain, and wind. So we're looking at the Kansas City-Jacksonville game. Right now, they're expecting weather like harsh rains and stuff like that all the way through until the second half. In this situation, I'm looking at fading all receivers right now for that game. I'm not one to take a chance and messing up my bankroll for just on a half a game. And then the Zona and 49ers game, they're expected to have winds up to 20 miles an hour. I will be fading both the receivers on that game as well. And for fantasy football, I'll be fading the kickers. So if you have kickers from Zona and 49ers, you need to switch them out. But this does boost 49ers defense. I'm big on if I need to, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but if you need a cheap defense, 49ers defense will be a good one based off of the weather. And then the Rams in Seattle, they have a light rain. I don't think it'll affect too much for the receivers for cash, but I'll be using them mainly for GPP. So,
yeah, and again, with basically the way that you got to use this doesn't mean don't play any of these people. It just means you bump them down just a slight tick. And so if you had two guys that were relatively close in price, go for the guy that's playing in optimal conditions. If he's in dome or the weather's nice, it's just one extra way to help you measure. So it doesn't mean completely get rid of, but the Jacksonville Kansas City game is interesting anyway because one, it's the number one offense versus the number one defense. There's so many question marks for this game anyway. It does make me kind of like the running backs just a little bit more. TJ Yeldon, I have so much in, and man, do you feel confident, Austin, still starting guys like TJ Yeldon?
I'm definitely gonna still use TJ Yeldon in both cash and GPP.
I love it. Yeah, Yeldon's going to be, as Austin would call him, the chalk guy, as a lot of people call him. He is super, super safe this week. That Kansas City defense is garbage, and he's cheap. So now, speaking of cheap, let's see here. Let's go through some of these games and the lines, the over-unders, just to see kind of what games we need to target and what games we need to stay away from. So, Austin, what is the highest rated game as far as Vegas concerns for points? Who's going to score the most points?
Right now, the still Falcons and Steelers are looking at 58 points total right now. So You know,
You
that's still
can't
the
get
highest
enough of
projected.
this game. You really
Yeah.
can. I think 50-50 lineups and 1 versus 1 head-to-heads, cash games, all those. This lineup is going to be full of just these players. And one of my favorite things to do is to go across all slates and target this game heavily in a 50-50 lineup and just stack both sides. And what you do whenever you do that is you get people that are going to be playing the Monday night game or the Sunday night game or a few of these other games with very low over-unders. And, man, you're just picking on them. It doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem fair.
Not at all.
Now, what other games you like besides that one?
Especially the Raiders and Chargers. They dropped down a tick. They went from 53.5 down to 52.5. I still think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm not going to use Carr, but I'm more on the Charger side. So,
okay. Yeah, I mean, Carr he's interesting because the volume is there. That defense is still pretty salty. It's a great defense even without Bosa, but you can put up yards on them. So it's one of those things that I could see Carr again putting up 300 yards because they're just going to have to throw it every week because that defense is beyond terrible. But yeah, it's an interesting game. I don't mind Carr. I don't mind Cook. Outside of those two options, it gets messy. It gets messy.
yeah.
So you already brought up the Kansas City-Jacksonville game, but where are you at? The over-under is 49. So whenever weather comes out like this, do you change kind of your views on the over-under, or do you keep them the same?
I'm still looking at this game. It's definitely lower. They were expecting this to be a high-scoring game as well. I would definitely take the under in this situation because they're talking like, I wouldn't say torrential downpours, but a consistent rain, heavy rain for most of the first half. So you figure they're just going to run. And I did pick Kansas City to win this game, but based off of this news and information, I'm really thinking about changing over to Jacksonville because their defense is just that much better and they will stop Hunt. Whereas I think Yeldon will still have opportunities to run. So, what are your thoughts on this one? Because man, I really like some insight on this.
It's a rough one, man. And anytime it's number one offense versus number one defense, I go defense completely. And I know I'm biased. You know, I coach defense. I played defense my entire life career. But Arrowhead is a crazy place. I went to grad school in Kansas City, and going to those games is magic. You know, the old crappy stadium, but it's just like alive. Like it has such a badass spirit about it. So if there's a coin flip game, I think this is it. And I'm believing in Mahomes. I really do. So if I had to put money on a game, I would not pick this one. But I'm going with the Chiefs, man. And I do think that they will find a way to get Kareem Hunt somehow involved, whether it's in the passing game or off tackle. I don't think you run up the middle very well with these guys, but I think that Kareem Hunt, I don't have him in a lot of lineups, but he looked unreal last week. So we'll see if it continues. It's going to be a fun game. I don't have a lot of DFS plays here, though. It's a little too scary and too many question marks for me, so I stay away.
Yeah, red flags for all.
All right, speaking of red flags, we have one removed. Let's start going through all the news and injuries and updates. Aaron Rodgers, man, he is off the injury report, which is crazy because he's still limping around like he has a prosthetic leg. But he's off, which is great. However, the rest of his team is a mess. Devontae Adams, he's expected to play, but his calf has been a mess. Geronimo Allison, he's likely out, which means Marcus Valdes-Scantling's going to be in. Man, walk us through this Patriots offense and what this means for this week.
The Green Bay offense?
Yep.
Yeah. This Green Bay offense, Aaron Rodgers, I'm bummed that Allison is out. He definitely would have been a good cheap play for this week. This really boosts Aaron Jones big time because Williams is the blocking back, and basically what they were saying was Aaron Jones wasn't getting a lot of volume because they needed to protect Rodgers even more. So I think this definitely puts Aaron Jones in a better position to have a high productive game this week.
Yeah, I could see this game being one of the top scoring games of the week. One, it just seems like these two teams match up to have a ridiculous amount of offensive plays. They both love to throw the ball, despite the fact that they run the ball very successfully. Both head coaches and offensive coordinators just want to air it out. And so this is one of those plays where I could totally see 80 plus offensive plays on both sides. And that clock's going to stop a lot with incompletions, passes out of bounds, things like that. So I like the Aaron Jones play. I'm seeing a lot of buzz on him, but man, Kenny Golladay in this game is just, I don't know why. It just seems perfect. And the long shot Marcus Valdez-Scantling, he is cheap.
Yeah, real cheap.
He is
4K?
super. Yeah, 4,000. Definitely need to have him represented somewhere because again, the thing is, whenever you play somebody that is this cheap, it allows you to just bulk up your entire lineup with just nothing but studs. So what's he got to do to return value there? Maybe have 3 catches for 50 yards and you're happy, but it's Aaron Rodgers. And it's in a dome. So the upside is insane, and he doesn't have to do much to return value. And I mean, Jimmy Graham he's going to play. Jimmy Graham is, but he's not 100% either. So it's a banged up Green Bay offensive line or offensive everything. And we'll just have to see what's going on. Now let's head back. Sammy Watkins hamstring. He is expected to play, but man, I just want to stay away. Where are you at on this?
You're not touching him. That ain't worth it. Move on.
Yeah, especially whenever you saw what happened last week where he just left in the first quarter. Get used to this. This is who Sammy Watkins is. He will have a huge game, and then he'll have 2 duds, then a huge game, then a dud, back and forth.
Isn't that typical for that whole team? I'm done by the second half. I quit.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I like it. Richard Sherman, he is back. This is crazy. He was supposed to be out 2 to 4 weeks, but if you look at his contract that he signed whenever everybody jumped on the 49ers for paying him too much, if he doesn't play 90% of the snaps throughout the course of the year, he loses like half of his money. So he's got to be out there, and the 49ers need him. Maybe the worst secondary in the NFL without him. He is expected to play. That with the wins and all those things, I don't think we're starting a lot of Cardinals wide receivers. Larry Fitzgerald is going to play, but does this affect anything for you?
I'm bummed because I really wanted to use Kirk this week. And matter of fact, hey, this is a good spot to let you know. Hey, I know a lot of the lineups, we have Keelan Cole, we have Westbrook, and we have Kirk. Just keep an eye on those. They will change out through the rest of the morning. With this situation, I'm also looking at going from Ravens defense to 49ers defense and saving about $400 because now since I got to fade Kirk and as well as Cole and Westbrook, I kind of have to move up a little bit on wide receivers. So
yeah, and that's the thing. We're not saying that these guys won't have a good game. We're saying there's added risk. And so with added risk, we're getting the hell out of there.
We're talking cash. We're talking cash.
Exactly. Tournament plays, if you want to stack Jacksonville stack, that's fine. I would definitely go D.D. Westbrook out of the slot, just going to get more targets, more work. The weather's going to be less of an issue there than on the outside. But that's what we're saying. We probably specialize in 50-50s and cash games because what we try to do, and again, we're jumping off script here, but I got to ask this week, I'm new to this whole DFS thing, but I love it. What are your recommendations if I'm a new player? And here's what I would say. Number one, you need to focus your money on 50-50s. It is the safest way to, one, understand how the game works, and it has the best return with very, very little risk. So 50-50s or multipliers is what I would do. And if you are wanting to hit that big time, hey, I'm super rich, whatever, you need to play in qualifiers. So if you don't have a lot of money to play, you need to play in qualifying tournaments. You can get in them for $1. And basically what that is they'll give you a ticket to the next week's matchup or several weeks out matchup for a $10 to $12 entry fee instead of $1. And so like 12 people will enter. Whoever gets first out of 12 will win into a qualifier. So try to do those things. And what you've got to stay away from, please listen, these are a money pit, is whenever you play in those giant tournaments that are allowed to have multiple entries. Some of them have 150 entries. You're not going to win even if you have a perfect lineup, because all the experts have 150 lineups in that bad boy, and you're going to have to. It's like playing the lottery. We don't gamble here. We make very careful decisions, and we back that up with research. And what we do is we post profits every week. Now, we're not the type of people that you're going to see cashing in $1 million checks, but we are making money every single week. And yeah, we do well in tournament play, but we're not throwing around that kind of money. That's not who we are. We do this because we love it, and we want you to enjoy it too. And the more money you make, the more you keep coming back, and the more fun we have together. Now, let's stay on that 49ers game. Back to news. Matt Breida is expected to play, and this offense, or this defense, that Arizona defense, you can run against. Matt Breida is still relatively cheap for where he is. He's third in the NFL in rushing yards. Where do you sit with Matt Breida?
I'm actually starting to come around on him today, especially like with the weather and stuff like that. So, and with his price point at being 6.2 and Yeldon being 6.5, I could save a couple $100 and move up. But the only other person, I mean, in that area though, is Kerryon Johnson. And I mean, it's right now I'm having a hard time between Breida and Johnson. You know, Johnson doesn't have any injuries. Breida does. Green Bay gives up a lot of freaking points in the ground. 49ers are Arizona's starting to come together as a defense. So I might not play Breida, and I might move on to Kerryon Johnson for cash.
Yeah, that's one of those where I'm going to put one in one lineup and another in another. But I'll tell you this, Matt Breida, man, he played 60 snaps last week. And again, third in the NFL in rushing. And then you have Matt Patricia. Nobody knows what the hell that guy's doing. Comes out this week and says, nah, Kerryon Johnson's getting enough work. We don't need him to get more. And it's like, what games are you watching? Quit chewing your damn gum and open your eyes and pay attention. Anyway. Hayden Hurst is expected to make his NFL debut, the huge first-round tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. I love this play eventually. I don't know how I feel about it this week because that offense, man, they love the tight end. So what are we doing with the Baltimore tight end situation? The prices are all great, but who's it going to be?
I'm sticking with Hayden Hurst. I mean, at 4,500, I mean, there's a lot of news out there. It's hard to look. You know, I guess the coach speak and stuff like that, it's hard not to sit there and make sure Hayden Hurst is relevant. At 4,500, though, I mean, just for him to hit value, this helps me get lineups like Gordon and Gurley together. This helps me get lineups like Antonio Brown if I wasn't fading him this week. It get him with Gurley or Gordon. You know, this is one of those situations where I could punt at tight end, go super cheap, and really focus on some big names to really help out my team from my lineups this week.
Yep, and that's kind of where it is. You know, tight end is it's a swing and a miss. So you try to find volume cheap, and if you can't, then you try to find goal line touches. And Hayden Hurst, whenever he was in there this preseason, looked unreal. They spent a first-round pick on him for a reason. Mark Andrews has been great, but I still think that guy's going to be Hayden Hurst. So we'll see what his snap count looks like today. I don't have him in a lot of lineups, but it's definitely worth a flyer. Lamar Miller, oh my goodness, pessimistic that he will be playing today, and that is a Sunday night matchup. So for just fantasy purposes, not necessarily DFS, make sure if you have Lamar Miller, who has been startable, he's in your flex spot because it's that late game. If you keep him in your running back slot, you're limiting your options to swap him out, which I would swap him out now anyway, but just a fantasy tip. The late games, it doesn't matter who you think is your running back one or wide receiver one. You always start the later games in your flex spots because if something weird happens, you have more. You could swap them out with a running back or wide receiver or tight end. So move him out. But Alfred Blue, holy cow, man. He is $3,600 on FanDuel. I am going to have him in some lineups for sure. What do you think, man?
I'm definitely looking at him for one or two. I just got to try it. You know, it's too good of a situation to pass up on. Also, for fantasy purposes, like we were just talking about, if you're hurting at running back right now, Alfred Blue would be a good punt or someone to help you out this week. I mean, they're going against the Cowboys defense, and they don't have Sean Lee, which really boosts that running game, which even this helps out Watson too, because, you know, he's a runner. So I don't know how much I'm gonna have of this game, but Watson and Alfred Blue definitely look appetizing. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like everybody on the Houston side is going. All three of their starting wide receivers, Kiki, Will Fuller, and Hopkins, are all questionable throughout the week, but it seems like they're all going to be good to go. And I'll tell you this, man, Houston and Dallas is a fun game, and it's kind of like the little brother syndrome. This is a statement game for them, one that they have circled on their calendar. The Cowboys, I don't think really care that much about it. So I could totally see this game just turning into an all-out fight, which I love people on the Houston side. Zeke, obviously, but I don't think there's anybody besides Zeke that I would play. At Austin just typed in the over-under 45.5 points, which isn't great. And the thing with Dallas is this, they run the ball so damn much, they shrink the game. But I'm fine with playing some Houston people today. Outside of Zeke, I would not play anybody on the Cowboys. Do you agree?
Yeah, I have Zeke for cash lineups. I mean, it's hard to pass up on this game because you're looking at 32 of 32 when it comes to that O line right now. So, and that's the defense. So, like I said, well, I was just saying 32 of 32. They're the worst offensive line in the league right now. The only thing that saves them is Watson being mobile. So, hey, speaking of that, which wide receivers are you high on? Because now I'm looking at maybe I won't even get any exposure to this game because, like I said, there's too many red flags. My biggest thing is putting these guys in a lineup, and next thing you know, they're out already in the first quarter, and you're just sitting there going, well, there goes that one.
So I'll say this. Kiki probably has the biggest question mark there. Will Fuller has concussion-like symptoms, but they're expecting him to be just fine and cleared. I'm not worried about Will Fuller with the concussion issue. Will Fuller with everything else, he's always hurt. DeAndre Hopkins plays through things. I'm not worried about DeAndre Hopkins. He is going to be playing. I don't mind targeting him. I'm not the biggest fan of the Cowboys secondary, but at his price, I'm just like, man, I'm not quite sure. I have him in one or two lineups. It's just interesting. You look at Will Fuller, he scored a touchdown in every game he's ever played with Deshaun Watson. That offense has to throw it to be successful. It's just what it is. They are going to air it out like crazy. Again, poor coaching, bad offensive line. They've got to throw the ball. So, all right, let's head over back to Detroit. Let's focus on the Lions now with these three wide receiver sets. And who the heck do we go with? Marvin Jones is on track to play, but he is way less involved than Tate and Golladay. What do you think, man?
Well, Marvin Jones has crushed freaking Green Bay over the past 3 years. He's scored almost 30 points per game every time he faces the Packers. I was kind of like it's a red flag, but I have been using Golladay in a lot of areas since I've been having to go punt on Kirk and a couple like Kiki. If I'm trying to save money, I was trying to look up his price real quick. Golladay is 6.3. Golladay 6.3, or I'm sorry, 6,300.
Marvin Jones 65, and then Tate, he is 74.
See, I'm not high on Tate. I always fade I don't think he gets enough exposure, so I just always stay away from Tate and always look at Galladay's growing on me, and so is Kerryon. I credit you guys for doing all the work this offseason, and notice for dynasty purposes, Kerryon Johnson's money. I would never have thought with all those running backs back there that I would look at Kerryon Johnson, but Golladay is the guy I'm looking at right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Pick your poison. You could justify starting any one of these three because it's Matt Stafford. If you look at Golladay seems to be the most targeted and touchdown guy, whereas Tate, he's like a top 6 fantasy wide receiver on the season so far. So it's all there with Jones. He's got to hit that touchdown to be fantasy relevant. But as you said, he plays very, very well against Green Bay. I do have a few Matt Stafford stacks where, I've got one with Tate and I've got one with Golladay. I did not put one together with Jones, but I'm not opposed to it. It's who's going to go off. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
I have one with Jones, Kerryon Johnson, Stafford, and Golladay.
Okay, nice. Whoa, I like it. I like it. So let's go to things we don't like. Dalvin Cook expected to be out per rap sheet. This is crazy. This injury is getting bad, and this is not a simple, okay, he's out, throw in Latavius Murray. The Vikings have showed us they don't know who the hell they want to give the ball to. Don't give it to anybody. So what does this mean for you in this Vikings offensive scheme? I think, if anything, this helps Thielen and Diggs out more than anybody.
Yeah, I agree definitely because the last time that Cook was out, uh, Cousins threw twice as much based off some information that came out this week. Basically, Thielen, Diggs, and Rudolph are all playable, which is another stack this week that I'm looking at on one of my GPPs. So,
Ooh, I like it. You know, that Philly defense is tough. You can throw on them. It's not very easy to run on them. That front line, that front seven is beast, but you can target the secondary. You know, Jalen Mills, one of the lowest rated cornerbacks in the entire NFL, and they've got a ways to go. So this is one of those games. Both sides throw the ball a lot. That's going to be a long game. So that Sunday afternoon game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Ted Ginn ruled out. Cam Meredith and Traquan Smith. I don't know if you saw this, but Sean Payton came out and said, we have to get Traquan Smith more touches and more involved. I like Traquan Smith here more, and he's cheaper. But Cameron Meredith, whoever gets this number 2 slot, is going to have value. Who do you like more here?
I'm not even looking at this one right now. It's what, the super late game, or is it Monday night?
Yeah, Monday night.
So it's Monday night. So right now I have no exposure. I don't have no Kamara. I have no Thomas, no nothing right now. So
nothing. Austin, no nothing.
No nothing on Monday. So I might throw one together. It's just there's just so much going on today on Sunday that it's just I let me just focus on today first.
Gotcha. I feel you. And again, this just kind of shows you play what you are comfortable with. I love including the Monday night game in my slates if it's a super low over under. It is not this week, 52.5 points between Washington and New Orleans. So I don't have I'm not playing very many slates that go across all formats just because that game is huge. So kind of take that for what you want. Now, Austin, we got a question. What do we got, buddy?
Yes. David asked, how will Seattle's defense play today when it comes to using them for DFS?
So Seattle's defense, it's not the worst play. You know, I'll tell you this. You look at what the Rams have done against Seattle, and it is unreal. They have completely destroyed them. Seattle's defense as a whole has actually played better than I would have expected this year, but you have to – there's no way you're starting Seattle defense, even if they are at home, versus the Rams. You can't do it. You can't do it, especially when there's so many other options. When you're picking a defense, you have to look at a couple caveats. One, who the hell are they playing? And what is the turnover/sack potential? And – the Rams don't turn it over, and they don't get sacked. So you are limiting yourself on the most easily predictable scoring defense terms. So stay away from that. I'd much rather start San Francisco. I'd rather start Houston. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's so many other plays. Carolina is one of my favorite, and of course Tennessee against Buffalo. That there's so many other options that you could pick up on a waiver wire or spend cheaper money for your defense. Don't do it. Friends don't let friends start defenses against the Rams. Do you agree? Where are you at on that?
I'm not touching Seattle. I was off Seattle like in preseason. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, they're 3,600 on FanDuel. There's 10 defenses that are cheaper. So stay away from that one. Don't do it. Don't do it. Giovanni Bernard, man, he has been great to us. We made a lot of money with this gentleman, and now he is out with a sprained MCL, but Mixon is back. I feel like they are the injury tag team high five duo. Man, what do we think about this? Gio Mixon, he's got the Dolphins, and obviously the talent is there. He looked amazing before he got injured in week 1. What do we do here?
Did you see what James White did to Dolphins last week?
Yes, it was dirty.
And Mixon is a pass catching back, right?
Yes, he is.
And
And
so
that offense is all cylinders right now.
yeah, so I'm actually kind of looking at Mixon now more so than Barkley or Zeke or even David
Ooh.
Johnson in my flex position when it comes to DFS right now. I think Mixon could be that guy that really carries. Last week, what was it? I'm I'm just hoping for no more freaking Trubisky situations to where I felt like that ruined last week having 6 freaking touchdowns where I think Mixon could be that guy that could help us out this week to offset something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, last week was crazy. If you didn't have, one of 3 or 4 quarterbacks, you weren't hitting in a lot of leagues. And
Yeah.
50-50s were a little bit different. Again, I did win. I cashed out in one tournament play with Drew Brees as my quarterback somehow.
Wow.
I feel like I should update my Facebook profile because he had a horrible game. I think he had like 8 or 9 points. But I hit everywhere else, which is lucky. And this is the thing. There's so many quarterback choices that one, there's 2 different philosophies. One, you pay up for the guaranteed guy, which I think the guaranteed guys this week are Ben Roethlisberger, Cam Newton, and Matt Ryan. Those are like the 3 very obvious choices. But again, they're top of your price point. Or you go with cheap value and find a game script that is going to be preferable to a lot of passes around the goal line. And if you can figure that out, we thought it was Ryan Tannehill a few weeks ago. We were right. We thought it was Ryan Tannehill again the next week. We were wrong. It's kind of what it's going to be, hit or miss. Are there any quarterbacks? We're going off script right now, but man, I kind of like Blake Bortles and Derek Carr as far as if I am punting at the quarterback position, who are some guys that you want to target?
Right now, I'm looking at Stafford as my only punt for this week. He's at 7,600. You're talking Big Ben is great for cash this week. Probably one of the few weeks that we can say Big Ben is good for cash. He's 8,400.
Plays so
Matt
well
Ryan,
at home. So well at home.
Well, he didn't play too well at home, 2 weeks ago, bastard. And then Matt Ryan, he's 8,300. He's great for cash. And then Cam Newton's 8,400 as well. So looking at those, and I'm looking at volume, and I'm looking at the Vegas lines, and it's inside. We don't have to worry about any issues with weather. So Stafford
Weather.
Stafford at 7,600 is my guy to go to for cash if I'm punting at QB.
Yep, well said. A couple other options. Andy Dalton, 7,500. I love that. Blake Bortles, Derek Carr, 7, as I said. And Deshaun Watson. Man, I don't know. I just feel this game. And I hate whenever I have this feeling because you look at the analytics with what Dallas defense does and what their offense does. They shrink the game, as I said. But, man, I'm telling you, Deshaun Watson, man, I think he could be having one of those crazy games today. You get these feelings sometimes, man, and it's just like you want to talk yourself out of it, but you just can't. It's what it is. So let's move on to real quick as we wrap up this episode. What are some other emergency value plays? Let's say something crazy happens right before kickoff, and you've got to substitute in just a play with 5 minutes left. Who are the guys that you are targeting? Oh, he kicked me out. What's up, Austin?
Oh, he's back. He's
we
back.
are still live. All right, Google Hangouts. You are the man. So, real quick, not sure how much you got of that, but let's finish this episode. What are your emergency value plays if things go wrong across each position?
Well, we just talked about QB. So the running back emergency is Aaron Jones, 6,100. We talked about Scatlin Valdez Marquez, saying his name backwards, 4,800. Tight end. It says here Jeff Swam. I don't know. I mean,
Swam. He's a Longhorn.
Yeah, 4,400. And then, like we talked about earlier, due to weather and with Sherman back, 3,800 is great. For for defense. So
yeah, and again, these are just plays. If something crazy happens and you need to make a swap for something cheap, these are some guys you can target to get in there. So we really do appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. And if you haven't already, look us up on iTunes and subscribe. Just type in DFS and Dynasty. You will see our tag there. We were the first one to pull up. Hit subscribe. We will have episodes coming out Tuesday and Thursday. And then always we are here Sunday live. And if you haven't already, head over to Eat Sleep Fantasy. And man, hit that $5 subscription fee. Get those lineups. Man, we put lineups on there for 50-50s, head-to-heads, multipliers, tournament, picks, stacks all over the place. It is there. And we play with those lineups. We win with those lineups. And we want you to win with us. And if you like it, then you can subscribe for the season. Austin, do we have any parting words for our audience?
Yep. Remember, things change throughout the day. So go keep checking those lineups over and over again. I would keep hitting refresh on those lineups all the way up until about 12:30, 12:45 Eastern Standard Time. So they're always going to be changing today, especially today. It's so hard to lock down a certain lineup. And there's going to be tons of stacks. I have a stack of Stafford, a stack of even what's the kid's name? Rosen with DJ this week. I mean, there's stacks all over the place. Of course, those are all GPP stacks. Do not use stacks in 50-50s.
Yep. I love it. And really appreciate it, guys. Good luck today. And let's all make some money. Have some fun. Send us our questions. You can reach me at JL_Chapman, CHAPMAN. Austin, what is your Twitter handle, sir?
AUSTN37.
There you go. All right, guys. Peace.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.